Hey everyone, today we're going to be looking at some key projections and just some key things that you need to watch out for each National League team in this coming season 2026. If you like what you see, please like, subscribe, and if you see anything that you'd like changed, that you want me to implement into these videos, please leave a comment below. I'm more than happy to take suggestions. Thank you so much, let's get into it. To start the list off, we gotta go with probably the most famous division in the National League, and that's the National League West. We gotta talk about the reigning World Series champions, and then also the team that almost broke the most losses in a season record. And so let's get right into it. To start off the NL West, I think we're gonna have the Dodgers, led by, of course, Dave Roberts. I mean, everyone knows they're going to be the best in baseball, probably, especially with the new acquisitions they got this year. So I'm going to focus a lot on like what would have to go wrong for them not to contend as well as they have been these last couple years. Their lineup's very lefty heavy, though most of their lefties can hit lefty pitchers, but if it's a lefty pitcher that they're facing, it could open up problems for the Dodgers. Pages and Edman, could be harmful if they're in a slump. Their rotation, that even in a six-man rotation, they're gonna have problems with injury. They do every year. And so that could be a problem for some of these big arms, especially like, say, Shohei Ohtani gets injured while pitching, because he probably will have some pitching time, quite a bit of pitching time this year. And so if he gets injured, now he's out from the lineup and out from the rotation. And so that could cause some problems for the Dodgers. Their bullpen, though, Diaz, they just got Diaz as the closer. Of course, one of the best closers in the National League. I think he's going to keep the Dodgers winning tight games, though there's not really any set roles for the rest of them other than Diaz. Though regardless, they have great arms for their bullpen that they can use for a setup man or middle relief or long relief. It really depends. But those are kind of the things that would have to go wrong for the Dodgers for them to lose their number one spot in the NL West. And I have them winning 100 games. I think they're going to go 162. And I think they're going to, they're going to do what the Dodgers do. A lot of stuff will have to go wrong for them to lose their number one spot. The Padres, I think they're coming number 2. I think the rankings for the NL West are going to be exactly the same as they were last year. I think the Padres are going to go number 2. I think I heard rumors of Luis Arraez leaving by the start of the season. I don't know if that's true, but if he is gone by opening day, the Padres lose a big contact first hitter that kind of helped the offense with all those power bats. Bogarts, I'm assuming he'll improve. I mean, he had a little bit of a tough year last year, but he probably will bounce back this year. I think he's going to make some big improvements and be a quality hitter in their lineup this year, probably in the back half of their lineup. They have a good mix of lefties and righties. Their matchups should be just fine. But again, say Bogarts or some of the other guys at the bottom of their lineup start sputtering, if they're in a slump, it could cause problems for their chance for their postseason chance, or just getting in contention for the number one spot in the NL West. Their rotation, Yu Darvish going to be out for the entire season. That was sad, though they still have reliable arms in Michael King, Nick Pivetta, and Joe Musgrove. I think those guys are going to do well. I think they're going to hold down the fort. Overall, they'll probably be a pretty good rotation for pairing with their great offense. And then Mason Miller, their closer in the bullpen. I think he's still cementing himself as one of the best closers in baseball. I think he's gonna. I think he's gonna be one of the top saves leaders this year, especially by how good the offense is and how many games I think that the Padres are gonna win regardless. I think they have great roles for their setup men, I guess. They have a lefty and righty for both high leverage seventh, eighth inning guys, with Adrian Morahone for the lefty and Jeremiah Estrada. I mean, they did great last year. Just very, very, very good bullpen arms. And then even their middle relief, they're doing good. I think their bullpen is one of the best in baseball. I know last year they had one of the lowest ERAs in for their bullpen in baseball, which I think is going to be a big thing for the Padres this year. I have the Padres going 87 and 75. Quite a bit below the Dodgers. I don't think this is going to work out well for anyone in the NL West. I think overall they're a well-rounded team. I mean, they have good pitching. They have very promising offense. I think that it's just the Dodgers are hard to catch up to. That's it. So I have them coming in second. The San Francisco Giants. This one was a tough one to rank. I have no idea. I did my best to try and rank them based on what I know, but I had no idea if they were going to be terrible or if they're going to be great next year, or maybe just middle of the pack. But I think they have some good middle of the order bats. I think that Devers, Chapman, and Adames. I mean, Willie Adames, right? He just hit the first person to hit 30 home runs in San Francisco since Barry Bonds, which is insane to me. So I think Adames and Devers as the power bats, and Chapman is a good contact hitter. I think these guys are gonna do really well driving in runs for the Giants. Jung-Hoo Lee, I mean, good speed, great contact. I think he had I believe his first full season last year. With no injuries and just no time on the bench, and so I think he's gonna kind of get used to that everyday kind of center fielder type thing, and I think he's gonna help him out quite a bit. The rotation, I think they are just inning eaters. Their entire rotation. Of course, Logan Webb, right? He's the big inning eater, always leading the pack in innings pitched, right? They also have a few decent strikeout arms. Robbie Ray has decent strikeout ability. Tyler Moll, or Molly, I actually don't know how to pronounce his last name, but I mean, those are decent strikeout guys. Moll has been a very proven asset in limiting runs. If you look at his statistics, he has a great ERA most years, but then there aren't many great options for starting pitchers after those big three, Webb, Ray, and Moll, for the rest of the rotation. So we'll see how the back half of their rotation does. Their bullpen, Randy Rodriguez, he's emerging as the Giants closer, right? He's looking for that spot, but there's no real shutdown guy that won't allow runs from the other team, right? A bullpen's main job should be to limit runs, and I think that's something that the Giants bullpen specifically has to work on. They have some good arms, they just need to figure out how to get past batters, you know? I think the Giants, they're going 82 and 80, just over 500. I don't think their offense will be anywhere close to what the Padres are, which is why the Giants are now number 3 in the NL West. Good starting rotation. I mean, of course, in that back half, there's a little bit of problems, and a decent bullpen. As long as they're limiting runs. I think they could be a strong contender for a playoff spot, but 82 and 80 is where I'm sticking them. I think the Diamondbacks, they're very promising most years, but I don't think they're going to live up to the hype like they do most years. And I think the Diamondbacks, they have a great mix of contact and power, just like the Padres, and could be a huge offensive powerhouse to compete with the Dodgers, right? Because they're always all of the NL West is always in the shadow of the Dodgers ever since like 2017. So I mean, I'd hope that they'd be able to contend, but I don't have them getting that far. They have great offense. There still are a few holes in certain outfield spots, and specifically first base. That might be a little problematic for them. Though they just got Arenado from my Cardinals, and so we'll see how much that helps their defense over there in the hot corner. Their rotation, Eduardo Rodriguez, I think he's going to be a reliable strikeout arm. But again, just like the Giants bullpen, he's not great at limiting runs. So they would need their bullpen to step up because I think other than Merrill Kelly and Brandon Pfaadt, who are kind of the inning eaters of the rotation, I think the bullpen's going to have to step up to try and limit the runs, along with their lineup that has to just score, you know. I think the bullpens, they're going to have tough with the middle relief, which does not help the fact that a few of their starters are not great at limiting runs, because like 6th to 8th inning guys, that's going to be tough. They do have a couple really good high leverage arms, which are in Kevin Ginkel and Taylor Clark. They're really the only two bright spots in a pretty shaky bullpen, and they will probably be used very liberally in these situations. I have the D-backs coming in just behind the Giants at 81 and 81. I think the Giants are going to beat them by a game, but I think the top four of the NL West are all going to be over 500. Generally, the Dodgers are generally a powerhouse anyways, but I think the entire NL West, excluding the Rockies, is going to be a giant powerhouse. And I think all of them are going to be in contention for playoff. And kind of the opposite of the Dodgers, I'm going to try and name as many good things about the Rockies as I can, just because there are many bright spots. But for their lineup, at least, Hunter Goodman, Ezequiel Tovar, and then they have their new prospect, Kyle Karros. All three of them are probably going to be pretty bright spots in 2026, despite an overall disappointing team. This will be Kyle Karros' first full season, and if he adds some power to his bat, I think he can be a pretty good rookie. Kyle Freeland will probably be the only decent starter on the team. He has quite a bit of experience at Coors Field with the elevation, and his arm is decent regardless, right? Their bullpen is really only Seth Halverson. And I was looking through his stats. He has tons of velo. He has a pretty high K rate, though he's probably going to have to rely on his fastball a lot due to the lack of pitch movement in Coors. I think the Rockies, they're going 64-98, and the only thing I can say about that is the only direction to go is up, hopefully. I mean, next year they could be in another situation where they're close to the most losses in MLB history. But I'm praying for the Rockies, and I hope that they do a little bit better than they did this year. Next up is my favorite division, though a lot of people could care less for it, is the National League Central. They had big years last year, and so let's look into it and see what we can find out for how they're going to be in 2026. For the Cubs, I think the Cubs are going to do great. I think Pete Crow Armstrong, for at least part of the 2026 season, is going to return to close to what he was in that first half of 2025. when people were talking about how he was going to be the next MVP. Bregman does great stuff. I think he's really going to help out with driving in runners for the Cubs here. I think he rounds out their offense greatly. I think he's going to help hitters like Pete Crow Armstrong and Suzuki kind of have a better season because there's less pressure on them to carry the offense. I think he's going to be taking some of the pressure off them, which will help. Cade Horton, after last year's, he was runner-up for Rookie of the Year. Cade Horton does great stuff on the mound. He's consistent, or at least last year, his first year in the bigs, he was consistent. He's breaking out, big star. I'd watch him. I think he's going to have a very good year this year. Edward Cabrera, if you look at his year-to-year, he's improving his K total. He noticeable velo, which is normal for a starter coming from Miami, but I think he's going to be a big upper rotation arm for the Cubs in 2026. Boyd and Imanaga, they're probably just going to be decent middle of the rotation, late rotation arms. Nothing too special. I would not assume that they would break out this year. I don't think that's a big possibility that they're going to be great starters this year. I think they're just kind of rounding out the end of the rotation, which is not a terrible middle end of the rotation for Matthew Boyd and Shota Imanaga. There's no true ace is the problem with this, right? They got some great guys. Cade Horton for the Rookie of the Year. Edward Cabrera is great. But right now, both of those guys are kind of new to the team. There's no true ace. So we'll see. Maybe that develops over the rest of the year here. Palencia, Daniel Palencia, in their bullpen, he hasn't really earned the role as a closer, but he had a great 2025. It was pretty good with a high K rate, high K per 9, but it's still not, he's not a proven closer. But other than the closer, the Cubs have a pretty good, well-rounded bullpen with Jacob Webb and Phil Maton. I expect there to close games. I think they're going to take them most of the time, unless it's close in the 9th, depending on how well Palencia does. I always somehow don't count the Brewers for a lot, but I think the Cubs are going to take the #1 spot this year. I always shortchange the Brewers, but I think they're going to end up with 89 and 73. Bregman is a great piece to their offense. I don't see them not getting the #1 spot in the NL Central. Though I'm not going to count out the Brewers. I still have them second in the NL Central. I think Jackson Chourio and Bryce Terang, great young guys. I think they're going to make some big moves this year. I think Contreras, Yelich, and Vaughn, at least Yelich is probably on a decline, but I think his power's still going to be able to help the... he was an MVP not too long ago, right? He's going to help out. I don't know if he's going to be the most instrumental player on the Brewers, but I think he's going to help out. Contreras is still very good offensive catcher. Andrew Vaughn still got to kind of prove himself at first base, but I think he's pretty set. Great power there. I think their bottom of the order is going to be a little tough, especially Joey Ortiz. There's a lot of right. If you look at Joey Ortiz's stats, he's a shortstop he's a very decent defensive shortstop, but his offense is just not there. It's almost non-existent. But if you just count the offensive tools like power, contact, right, I think they're very well-rounded. They have a good mix of power and contact. They lost Peralta. That's always a big thing. I wish him the best, but I think losing Peralta is going to hurt them in the long run. I don't know why they did it. They had the best record in the National League last year. I have no idea why they traded him away. Mizrowski, right, the crazy young all-star that everyone was hyping about, he got injured late last year, and I don't see I don't see him doing this and not getting injured. I mean, he has crazy velo. I mean, what, it was like 103. He hit 103 on his sinker sometime. It's insane. Um, but again, durability concerns with him because he's young and he's throwing so hard. We may see, if they want him to take a pretty big starting spot, we may see him drop his velo quite a bit just to preserve his arm. It's unlikely they'll put him in the bullpen. That's what I heard a lot about that they were going to put him in the bullpen. But it's unlikely just because they lost Peralta. They need starters. They need good starters, and he's probably one of the best they have. I mean, it's the entire rest of the rotation, including Mizrowski, honestly, is shaky. It's unpredictable young arms. I think that's going to be... I still think the Brewers are going to surprise me, and they're going to come in second, but it's just I don't see them beating the Cubs with this starting rotation. The bullpen. I mean, the good late inning guys, Abner Uribe, Trevor. I never know if it's McGill or Medjol. They're not in any way dominant, but they'll get the job done. There's just a lot of lefty bullpen arms on this team. It's just, I don't... Again, their pitching is a big concern for me. I put them second in the NL Central, but honestly, that might have been too... that might be too hopeful, I guess, for the Brewers. I don't see this team... Like, I know they're going to surprise me anyways, but I don't see this team getting second, but I ranked them anyways because I know they'll find a way to do it anyways. I think they're going to go 86 and 76. They're definitely not going to be as dominant as they were last year, which I think they won, 97 games or something. It was insane last year how well they did. They have a great offense. I think that's just going to have to carry. Their pitching is concerning. Again, I actually originally was thinking they were only going to get like 83, 84 wins, but I gave them the extra 2-3 wins because I know they always surprise me, and me being a Cardinals fan, it always pisses me off because they always do so much better than what everyone thought they'd do. I think the Reds, I think Ellie is the biggest thing to talk about with the Reds. I think Ellie De La Cruz, I think he's going to have a career year next year. I mean, we saw him, right, 2024, he had this crazy power, great offense, just he struck out a ton. This last year, he kind of slowed his bat down a little bit, reduced the Ks. I think he puts it all together this year. He's going to keep the K rate low, and he's going to bring back the power, bring back the speed. I think he's going to have a great year this year. Noelvi, I think I'm saying that right, Noelvi Marte, he's going to be a great cleanup hitter. I mean, those are their two power bats, right? Ellie and Marte. He's going to be a great cleanup hitter. He obviously made adjustments the year before, because if you look at his before 2025 stats and then 2025 stats, he made a huge jump. And so I think him and Ellie are going to be great. I think there's, just like most of the times with the Reds and even last year, there are lots of concerns about defense. I think their outfield is tough. And then with third base, they can either do Cabrian Hayes and lose a ton of offensive points, basically, or do Sal Stewart, who's a great offensive third baseman but terrible defense. And so we'll see what they do for kind of their everyday. Most of the time, they might just switch them out pretty often, especially if one's hurt. But yeah, great power and elite speed. I think they need to work on in the OBP department. They need to get on base more. They need more contact hitters. I think Ellie might help them out a little bit with that. I think I think he's going to have like an MVP caliber year this year. Hunter Green. Oh my goodness, that guy is nasty. Hunter Green is definitely their proven ace. I think he's going to be in contention for NL Cy Young. I think Paul Skeens might still beat him to it, but I think he's going to be one of the better National League arms And all of that on top of being in one of the most hitter-friendly ballparks is just, it's impressive, right? There's a reason we've never seen a Rockies Cy Young winner, right? Um, I think their entire rotation will be one of the most dominant in all of MLB. I think if one or maybe if one or two of these arms get injured, it could get more disappointing for the Reds, because there's not much depth outside of their like main five starting pitchers, which are Hunter Green, Andrew Abbott, Brady Singer, Nick Lodolo, and Chase Burns. Who Chase Burns is a young rising prospect. He's doing great. He did great last year. I see their starting pitching being very great. Emilio Pagan, their closer, he's definitely proved himself as a good closer. I think he had a great 2025. Pierce Johnson, pretty good setup man. Reliable, high leverage, definitely an late innings. Again, not great, but definitely not bad. And then middle relief could be a little shaky, so we're talking about like 6th inning, 7th inning. I think the Reds, they're going to end up smack dab in the middle. I think they're going to get 500, 81 and 81. Possibly the best overall pitching in the NL Central. The Cubs are really the only one. I guess the Pirates have pretty good pitching, but the back end of their lineup and their defense raises a lot of concerns. And so I put them 3rd in the NL Central, 81 and 81. Now, you might see a little bias because I am a Cardinals fan, and so I went heavy on all the things that I'm looking forward to with this team, and some things that I think will be pretty disappointing. I think if J.J. Weatherholt, who's our big prospect, he is a shortstop prospect that's big. We think he's going to be a big addition to the lineup and to defense. But the problem is we have Mason Wynn, who's also a shortstop. And so the most likely thing, in my opinion, is I think J.J. Weatherholt's going to get the second base position. And I think Donovan, I already assumed Donovan's on the chopping block by the start of the season. Right now it's January 23rd. We still haven't heard, he hasn't been moved yet, but I think he's on the chopping block. The infield's young. I think it'll have a high ceiling. I think Sajaci's probably going to be at 3rd. We'll probably have Alec Burleson, who had a great year last year. He's probably going to be over there at 1st. Again, Burleson and Ivan Herrera, who was our DH for most of last year, they'll continue their 2025 success for sure. They did great last year, and they're probably going to do just as good or better this year as well. And then this is Jordan Walker, who is the right fielder for the Cardinals. This is his make or break year. I mean, he was a huge prospect. I mean, he had great power possibility, right? But it's just he cannot make contact with the ball. So this is his make or break year. It probably will not be good for his career if he continues to sputter at the MLB level. The starting rotation, it's young guys. Michael McGreevy, he was a good young guy last year that did all right. I mean, he wasn't terrible, he wasn't great, he was just kind of a very reliable, decent starter for the entire year. And one thing I like about McGreevy is that he won't break down. Like, if he second, third time through the order, he's not breaking down if he gets hit around a little bit. Tink Hence and Quinn Matthews are both prospects that I'd assume are going to do all right. Fetty needs to bounce back from Eric Fetty needs to bounce back from last year. Last year he got hit around a ton. Liberatore as well. I think they need to improve. And if that happens, I think we'll have very middle of the pack rotation. I don't think it will be terrible again, but I also don't think it'll be that good. I don't know if Jojo Romero's staying in St. Louis. I don't know if he's getting cut by the opening day, but He's always a great leverage arm or high leverage arm for the seventh, eighth inning spots. Riley O'Brien is probably going to be the new closer. His fastball, great, high velo, 97 and 99. It's just he needs to start getting ahead in counts. He does have a bit of a command issue if he gets behind in counts. Tends to walk quite a few. But he's very promising as a closer. I think the Cardinals, they're going to go 79 wins, 83 losses. I mean, they're completely rebuilding. You can't expect much from them unless they have some great young guys coming up. I think if they reach 500, which would have been better than it was the year before with some veterans in the lineup and in the rotation, I think that if they can get to 500, I don't think they will, but if they do, I think this is a really good sign for the future of the Cardinals, and I think there's going to be some big things in the next couple years if we can reach 500. I think the Pirates just their offense cannot sputter like they did in 2025, because 2025 was some of the best pitching from the Pirates, starting pitching, and their offense just could not hit. And I think that if they just acquired Brandon Lowe, who's a great power bat. I'd have to double check, but I think he hit about 30 home runs last year. With O'Neal Cruz, if he's healthy, that would be a great power bats in the lineup. Brian Reynolds, really good contact hitter. Though as an overall team, they need to bring out their on-base percentage. They need more just regular contact because they have great power in some of their bats, and they need to start producing from the bottom of the order. I don't think they're going to be that great this year, though their pitching, on the other hand, is one of the top strikeout rotations in MLB. If their offense can produce, it may take pressure off of some of those young strikeout arms so that they're not breaking down in the second or third time through the order, because it's such a close game. Though they don't have great bullpen arms, the lack of a good bullpen arm may cause more strain and possibly injuries for the starters, because they're going to have to try and go as deep as they can into games. I mean, their only two good bullpen arms really are Dennis Santana and Gregory Soto. They're probably going to have a tough time with their younger arms. I think the Pirates, they're going to go about 75 and 87, which, if you notice, I think a lot of the NL Central's not going to be as spread out as it was last year. I think everyone's going to be pretty close in the NL Central race, but they need a better offense in terms of getting on base, and then also I think we're probably gonna see some of the Pirates' arms get injured this year because they're gonna have such high workload, probably. Last but not least, the NL East, which was easily the most disappointing division in the National League last year. I'm hoping that they can step it up. Well, let's see how they do. Leading off the NL East is the Mets, and the Mets need to figure out some holes in their lineup. The Mets have, of course, Juan Soto, who got third in MVP for the National League last year, led the league in on-base percentage and walks. They just acquired Bichette, who's just off a World Series run, hyped up from that, definitely wants to get back to the postseason. He had a great year last year, accumulating 3.5 WAR with a 840 OPS, which is an OPS plus of 129 with 18 homers. My man Francisco Lindor, always coming in clutch, always getting MVP votes. Finally an All-Star for the first time. That's always a big thing, even though he should have been years ago. Again, just a very decent, very good season. Doesn't get enough credit for what he does for the team. Francisco Alvarez is going to have another great year. He's been slowly increasing year to year on his offense, knocking in 32 runs, 11 homers with a 787 OPS. Have not the greatest defense, but that was over 76 games, and so I think he's going to be one guy to watch out for to help that Mets lineup in 2026 here. The rotation, the starting rotation, is always a big worry for at least this year for the Mets. They lost a couple pieces, and they were just horrendous last year. But they just got Freddie Peralta this time in January, which is a step in the right direction. If I think, I think they should acquire some more pieces, both in their rotation and their bullpen. Now that they also lost Edwin Diaz, I think they have the money to spend, and they should be spending it on arms, on pitching, on bullpen. I think that will help them the best, and if they do that, I think they can be pretty big contenders for the NL East this year. I think the Mets are going to end with in third place in the NL East. I know if they get some of those arms, they might go up, but I think they're going to end with about an 85-77 record, a little bit over the 50-50 there. They may get second again if they can pick up some new pieces, bullpen arms specifically, but also their pitching. If no one really steps up except Peralta, they're going to need some help there. The only word I can say about the next teams last year was terrible. Man, the Braves sucked. I don't even know what to expect from them, but I'm gonna try and make a prediction for 2026 here, which I think they're gonna do a lot better. I think this was just a slump all around. Too many things went wrong. But starting it off, Acuna and Olsen, I mean, regardless of how their team did last year, they had really strong 2025 seasons. Drake Baldwin, the reigning Rookie of the Year, I can't wait to see what he does his sophomore year. Just to give you guys a little stats on that, he had an OPS of 810, knocked in 80 runs, for 3.3 WAR behind the dish, and 19 home runs. I mean, that's it's not the greatest Rookie of the Year season, but that will definitely help the Braves in the long run, especially with their with some of their previous catchers that weren't the greatest. I think Spencer Strider, is going to be maybe not completely back to his old self, but I think he's going to make some big moves forward after, because he had the season-ending injury in 2024. 2025, he didn't do very great, but I think 2026, he's going to step up and do a lot of things right. Schwellenbach, he's great, he's young, he has a great fastball, very high velo. This will be his third season, and I think he's going to do really well this season as well. Those are the two kind of starting pitchers to look out for on the Braves. The bullpen, Robert Suarez coming over from the Padres, reigning NL saves leader. I think that's a good acquisition for the bullpen of the Braves. They'll be able to get some late close games. They'll be able to win them. They just don't have that many middle relief arms, like the 6-7 innings guys, and if they can acquire some of those before the trade deadline, I think they could make a pretty good run for contention in the NL East. I think the Braves, they're gonna get 89 wins, 73 losses. They'll finish second, just above the Mets in the NL East. But again, I think they're just going to go really hard this year because they're looking for that bounce back from 2025. I think the Phillies, they're going to be great. I think they just re-signed Schwarber and Real Muto. I think those are great veteran bats alongside Harper and Turner that they could make some real damage in their lineup. I think it's just not a good long-term thing. A lot of their greatest hitters, a lot of the great bats, a lot of the pitchers even, they're all experienced veterans, and it might be a little, in a couple years here, we might see the decline of the Phillies in the NL East here. But for 2026, they're looking real good. I don't think Ranger Suarez going away will hurt them that much in the long run, honestly. I think Wheeler and Nola, Aaron Nola is going to dominate. I think they're going to hold down the top of the order there. They're going to do what they always do, get big outs and go the distance. I think Christopher Sanchez, who had a spectacular year last year, just to read you out some of the stats, he accumulated 8 WAR as a pitcher with a 2.5 ERA. That is insane. With 212 strikeouts over 202 innings. That is insane to me. I don't think it's very likely that he'd do that again in 2026, but I bet he's still going to be amazing. I think those 3 pitchers we should look out for to hold down the fort now that Suarez is gone. And then their bullpen is just easily one of the best in the NL East. I mean, the only real concern they have is injury, because they have, as it stands, a very well-rounded bullpen. I think the Phillies, I mean, again, they're well-rounded. They have veteran offense, great bats, very strong pitching core. I think that they're going to end up going 94-68, and they're going to win the NL East, and I'll get to my postseason rankings later, but I think they're going to go pretty far in the postseason as well. The Marlins, they've always been good at developing young players, especially pitchers, turning them into flamethrowers. I think we're just going to see a lot of prospects. It seems like the Marlins are in kind of a rebuild right now, so I think we're going to see some prospects come up. We'll see how they do. Hopefully there's going to be some big new bats, at least, from the Marlins prospect chain. I mean, if some of these guys step up, they might be in contention for, like, top 2 in the NL East up until about August. But I think that their late surge last year is a little, I don't think that's correctly reflects what they're going to be this year as well. Though I think Sandy Alcantara in the starting rotation, I think he's going to do great. Since July, he started off 2025 pretty rocky, but since July, he had a sub-4 ERA with an average of 1.5 walks every game and 2.8 earned runs every game. I mean, that's not terrible. We may see him starting to take bigger steps back to Cy Young Sandy Alcantara back in 2022. Maybe we'll get to see him again, which would be nice. The bullpen, I mean, there's not much about it. It's lots of young guys, high velo. I mean, that's what the Marlins do best. They look for some flamethrowers, and they need them. Because the offense might sputter a little bit, I think that the bullpen, if they want to be in contention, the bullpen is going to have to step up in a big way. I think they're going to land 4th in the NL East. I think they're going to win 74 games, lose 88. I don't think they're going to do as well as they did last year. Like I was saying, I think it was just a bit of a fluke. They just got really hot towards the end of the year there. They might have some pretty good starting pitching, but I don't think anything else is going to come together for them. But I still don't think they'll be as bad as the Nationals. The Nationals, they're in complete rebuild. I mean, really all they got to worry about is train those prospects. Like, make sure those guys are MLB ready, and make sure that they can produce, and they can improve at the big league level. I mean, they just cut Gore. Mackenzie Gore just went to Texas. That was a big move. So their rotation, I mean, there's a couple good pieces, but I mean, it's nothing that can win you quite a few games. And then same with the bullpen. It's all young, all prospects. I think they just really need to work on getting some of those prospects MLB ready and getting them so that they improve. I don't even think the Nationals are going to crack 70 wins. I think they're going to sit about 68 wins and 94 losses. I wish them the best. That, again, seems like complete rebuild. And I can't wait to see what they do in the next couple years. Thank you all for watching. If you made it this far, make sure to comment. Did you like the gameplay? I love Lego games. If you disagreed with the list or agreed in any way, if you think a team did better or worse than it's gonna do better or worse than what I ranked them, please let me know in the comments below. And remember, gamers love baseball and baseball loves gamers. Adios.